Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. This is the Kathleen Wells Show, and I'm Kathleen. I want to say good afternoon to all my listeners in San Bernardino, Riverside, Rancho Cucamonga. I love saying Rancho Cucamonga, and in Loma Linda, California. And today is a special day because we have some interviews. We have interviews that were conducted in the West Bank and in Jerusalem. And our interviews are of Palestinians. How frequently do we get to hear interviews from Palestinians? How frequently do American listeners get a chance to hear about the lives of Palestinians, about their daily lives, about their family lives, about what they're experiencing, what they're feeling, what their families go through on a day-to-day basis? Well, this is why today is a special show, because we are going to bring to my listeners the voices of Palestinians. My executive producer, Donna Nassour, is currently in the West Bank and in Jerusalem. Donna, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Kathleen. I'm in East Jerusalem.
There's Donna. Did you hear her voice? She's in East Jerusalem. So we're without much fanfare, we're going to go straight to her first interview, which she conducted on October 30th in the village of Al-Walasha. Al-Walasha. Am I pronouncing that correctly? And her,
yes,
okay, and her guest is Shireen Al-Araj. Shireen Al-Araj. Mish Araj is the first interview. So let's take a listen.
This is Donna Nassour coming to you from Palestine. I'm sitting in the village of Al-Walaja with Shireen Al-Araj. She is a local Palestinian activist. She works tirelessly to try to save the village that her family has lived in for a very long time. And I'm introducing Shireen right now. Shireen, can you tell us a little bit about the background of your village, Al-Walaja?
Yes, Walaja is a microcosm of Palestine. I mean, it's everything is happening in Palestine, and all the crimes and the violations and atrocities and troubles and problems that you hear of in Palestine is happening in this small village in a smaller scale. So you name it. You're talking about land confiscation. You're talking about walls. You're talking about settlements, about water shortage, home demolitions, legal status, whatever you think of is happening in this village in a smaller scale. So that's why I call it the microcosm of Palestine.
Yeah, give us a little history of this village, please.
It was occupied, actually, today is the 64th memorial of displacing the village completely. We were the last village remaining in the southwest of Jerusalem in 1948. We were displaced 4 or 5 months after the creation of Israel. We used to live in agriculture. We like professional farmers. In 1948, the whole village was uprooted, and the majority of the people went to Amman and lives there as refugees. A smaller number came to the refugee camps to live around Bethlehem, and a smaller number came back to live in what's left of the village at the time. But there was no life on the land that was left of it in that time, because this land that you saw today was actually left for shepherds. There was no people living here. It's not good for farming, as you can tell. It's hilly, it's rocky, it's not good for farming. It needs a lot of money to turn it into a farming land.
Right.
So people used to live on the other side and left this place for shepherds. And when we came back, when the small number of people decided to live on what's left of the village, they lived in caves. Most of them lived in caves. And like my family lived in a cave for 12 years. And then they moved out. And then what's left of the village was occupied again in 1967, and then we started a whole struggle with the Israeli occupation. The first settlement was built on the land of what's left of Walaja at the time was Gilo, which is considered the neighborhood of West Jerusalem today, and it also was the first legal case of the village people against the state of Israel. 1979, the settlement Har Gilo was built. It was a military post. It was turned to a settlement. And as you can tell today, they're still expanding, and they're calling it a natural expanding.
Natural expanding.
Natural.
What does that mean, natural?
It means that people naturally grow, but they only in the Israeli side. It seems that we don't naturally grow. We naturally do something else, but I don't know what is it. Because we're not allowed to build. We're not allowed to have any new houses. And if we do, it get demolished. We have a high rate of home demolitions. We already lost 33 houses and 13 farms, and we have 100 plus orders waiting to be executed.
Orders for demolition
demolitions,
of homes that have been rebuilt or built since you came back.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And built after 67. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of the problems. We have two settlements. We have high rate of home demolitions. We also have a bypass road that was part of the network. It was built for settlements after the Oslo Agreement was signed, because they had to get in contact with, they have to be contacted to Israel. They have to be connected to Israel. That's the word.
Okay.
And for that, they built them a network of roads and tunnels and bridges and you know what. One of these roads is down here. So, and finally, they got the wall. And the wall is supposed to seal the village from all sides. Mm-hmm. It's going to just surround the village from all sides. And they will install a gate at the entrance of the village. So actually, one soldier can hold the whole village hostages.
Right. They can hold them. They can hold them hostage in the village or outside the village if they happen to leave.
Yeah, they don't need the soldier even. They can just lock the door and go.
Right.
Because no one can climb a 12 meters high concrete wall.
Right.
And if you can, there will be a buffer zone and a fence afterward, and there will be cameras, and there will be, I don't know, one. It's like that we've done something really big, and they're trying to protect themselves from us. And ironically speaking, nothing ever happened here. Absolutely nothing.
When you say nothing happened to the Israelis that immigrated here?
No, there was never. We don't have Jews in our, historically speaking, we never had Jews. We had Christians. We never had Jews.
You had Christians and Muslims in this village. We had
Christians and Muslims living here for a long time. No more Christians, unfortunately, but we never had Jews.
Okay.
Jews usually lived in cities. They never lived in villages or small towns.
Are you talking about pre-1948?
Pre-1948,
okay.
Yeah. Not just pre-1948 is a different era as well. I'm talking about historically before the Jewish immigration. Because these are not the Palestinian Jews.
Right.
I'm talking about the Palestinian Jews, the ones who lived in Palestine for centuries. Those lived in cities like Jerusalem, like Sfat in the north, like Haifa. Mm-hmm. These cities, it had a percentage of Jews. And the people were composed of, I think at the time it was 65% or 70% of Muslims, 20% of Christians. Mm-hmm. I think it was 2% of Jews, and there was a percentage of other sects between Islam and not Islam, and all these Druze and Shadli, and some groups that I don't know how do they identify themselves,
right?
And Baha'is, and so I don't know which religion, other religions.
Okay. So pre-1948. Everyone who lived in the land of historic Palestine at the time, they were living here as neighbors, good neighbors, peaceful?
Historically, yes. But after the immigration, the facilitated immigration from Europe to Palestine at the time by the British, things got worse. Because these people didn't come peacefully. They came with guns. They built settlements. They started killing peasants. They started forcing people to get out of their lands. They were grabbing land by force, and the British were helping them. Mm-hmm. And they were also, affecting the trade, because we had a very active trade with the neighboring countries, and also through the sea. And that was targeted at the time by Zionist troops before 1948. So they didn't come in a peaceful manner. They didn't want to just live here. They wanted to kick out the people and replace them, and that's what they did.
And when you say they wanted to kick out the people, what people did they want to kick out?
The Palestinian people, the owners of the land.
Okay.
The owners of the houses. They live in our houses now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's what's happening in our village now. There is a national park, and there is an agricultural village, what they call in Hebrew Mushav. Mm-hmm. It's called Aminadav. The name of the Mushav is Aminadav, and the rest is a national park. And for Israelis, we can't even get there.
You're not permitted to enter there?
We're not. And nowadays, the land that they're taking outside of the wall, from what's left of Walaje after 1948, they're also turning into a national park for Israeli youth. So we are going to be looking at seeing Israeli children playing in our own land, in what they call national park for Israelis. And if we do something at the time for these people, we will be the terrorists. And nobody will remember what happened to us. Right. And how did we lose this land? And how did this national park, which will be a crime if you kill someone there, how did it become a national park? What happened? Who are the owners of these lands and where did they go? I mean, even today, people can't get to their olives to pick it up.
Right, because of the wall?
Because of the wall.
What other implications have there been for Palestinians living in your area because of the building of the wall?
Well, the wall is very clear. It's very clear, the goal of the wall. It's not a hidden one. It's a structural displacement tool. What do you think will happen with someone who has a job that he has to be there or she has to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning and there's a gate, someone else is opening and closing? You can't jeopardize food in the table at the end of the day for your children, so you have to leave and live wherever you work. Maybe people will try to have only those who work leave and the rest of the family stays. But then this means that the working force would leave, and the working force are all men. I mean, majority men, not all men, because there are lots of women working here. But the majority of them are men. So if this working force leaves, this village will be left for women, younger children, and older people. Because also university students would leave. Because the universities are in cities. They are in Hebron, in Nablus, and in Khalil, and in Quds, and in Birzeit. They won't be able to jeopardize their education, so they would live wherever they're studying.
How many families are living in Walaja right now?
There's about 320 families. We're talking about 2,400 people.
And many of those families have received demolition orders from the Israeli government?
Yeah, we've received, just recently we actually received more than, I don't know the exact number, but it's around 40 new orders. We already have 90.
So what are you doing here in this village to try to protest or stop what's happening to the village?
Well, we're part of the popular struggle all around Palestine. So there is a popular struggle committee in Palestine, and this one is in Walaja. And this one is, organizing demonstration, advocacy campaign to tell people what's happening. We talk to diplomats, UN people, journalists, researchers, activists, whoever is interested to learn. We also talk to... We also have a legal case. I mean, you saw the wall is being built and almost finished, but actually the Supreme Court of Israel did not yet decide that this is the route of the wall because we're still in court.
So when you found out that there was a planned route for the wall and it was going to come into your village...
We received a map.
Okay.
They showed us a map that this is where the wall will be going. We appealed to the court that we don't want the wall here. We suggested we can't appeal against the wall as it is, per se. You have to appeal only against the route.
So before they began to build the wall, you filed an appeal. You filed an appeal, and that was in what year?
That was 2005, 2006.
And now it's 2012, and the court has not decided that this is the route of the wall. Yet the wall has been built.
It's been built, yeah.
Interesting. Can you possibly tell us? I mean, Americans will hear this interview on the radio station in the States. What is it that you want to tell Americans about what is happening here and their responsibility for it?
Well, I feel like I'm a broken record because I keep repeating this, but I think usually the conflict is happening here, true, but the major decisions are happening there in America. It's not happening here.
In Washington?
In Washington. The most influential group or part to this conflict is actually Washington. And Americans should, or they do have influence in Washington, or I hope that they do have influence in Washington. Washington is supporting ultimately the Israeli side. And I don't understand why. To be honest, I don't know what did I do to the Americans. Why would they spend so much money to fight me? And why would they support my enemy so much that I can fight Israelis. I don't have a problem with Israelis. But I can't fight Americans and Europeans and the rest of the world. I mean, I'm big, but I'm not that big. I'm sorry. I mean, I can't fight that so many people. Leave us alone. Don't support. If you can't solve it, if you can't pressure Israel to do something and you cannot help us, you cannot solve it, just step out. Mm-hmm. So either you do something good or you just step out and let us take care of it, because we can. We're much more than capable of handling this situation if you step away from it.
If the United States steps away.
If the United States step away from it. And Europe as well. Mm-hmm. I'm not excusing Europe here.
Mm-hmm. When we were outside before and you were showing me around, you showed me really where the green line had been. Mm-hmm. And tell us what the Green Line is first.
The Green Line is the line that actually, it was a physical fence that was installed between newly created Israel at the time and what's left of Palestine, which was ruled by Jordan, the Jordan government at the time. And that is, they call it the Green Line, International Green Line.
Okay. So could the wall have been built on the Green Line?
Easily. It could have been built easily in the Green Line. And it's also legal because we appealed to the International Court of Justice in The Hague. And The Hague had decided that the wall is illegal unless it was built on the Green Line. So if they built it on the Green Line, it would have been legal. And in my case, if they built it on the Green Line, I would have donated some time of mine to help them. If they're so big fans of walls. I don't care. I mean, I think it's stupid to build a wall. But anyway, if they like it, they do it. But if you're afraid and you want to build a wall to protect yourself, you build it in my backyard. I mean, how is that supposed to make you feel good or secure? I mean, what does that make of me in this case? If you want to secure yourself, you build a wall around me. And then what? I will wish you safety? Or how stupid that is.
So the Green Line was the artificial border, let's say, after 1948, when the Israelis had on one side, they had that part, and the Palestinian Arabs were living on the other side. And Jordan was in charge of ruling that area. So instead of building on that line, which would have been a natural border somewhat, how much extra land did the Israelis actually take? Or how far away from the Green Line into your land did they go?
We are left with 11% of our original land. All and all.
How did this affect you personally?
Personally, it did decide my life. I mean, it did decide my choices, my personal choices of what to study, what to work, whether to get married or not, where to live, what kind of career I do. It decided all my life, and it's still deciding all my life. It affected me 100%, if not more.
Is there anything else you want to say to our listeners about your struggle, for your family, for the people in your village, and for Palestinians in general?
I just want to say that this might sound so far from you, and it might look like you can live without thinking about it, but it's actually not. Because we are 4 million people being pushed to the corner and to the extreme, and the natural reaction of 4 million people being pushed so much is an explosion. And that explosion, I know for sure that we will be the first victims of it, but we will not be the last. And the second victims are Israelis, and the third and fourth and fifth, it's going to get to everybody. Because the reaction to that explosion might not come right away, but we are connected to 1.5 billion Muslims around the world, and we're also connected to 300 million Arabs, who might be 400 by now, and those will react. And this reaction will cost the whole world a lot. I think we need to fix this now. We're already late.
Do you think if the issues for the Palestinians were resolved and there was a peaceful resolution with justice for the Palestinians, how do you think that would change the Middle East in general?
Oh, it will change a lot. The Middle East is changing anyway, with or without the Palestinians. I mean, and for now, I can't even think of how the Middle East look like in 10, 15 years from today. But if we had a just solution in Palestine, the rest of the Arabs and the Muslims will just calm down. It's going to be, they would feel that they achieved something, and the major issue in their lives is solved. Because that's what the pain in the neck for most Muslims and most Arabs, because this is the most injustice thing that happened to them, and they can and it's still bugging them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if this was solved, justice, a just solution, this will affect the rest of the world, not just the Middle East.
What would a just solution be? A peaceful and just solution?
A peaceful and just solution will be something that majority of Palestinians accepts, and I think that is a two-state solution. Even though it's not sustainable, it needs a lot of work for that to be sustained. But that should grant full sovereignty and right of return. Because we need to close all doors of possible conflicts. If we have right of return granted, and if we have sovereign state for Palestinians with East Jerusalem as a capital, that might be enough for now, and then we have to live with the idea and actually work on the rest of the issues.
Mm-hmm. So you think that a peaceful and just solution would be to allow for a sovereign state for the Palestinians?
I think the ideal solution is one state. I don't think it's two states. But I think the majority, I felt that the solution should be accepted by the majority. And I'm saying the majority would think that we should have a separate state and not a one state or a binational state. Mm-hmm. I think it's stupid. The ideal solution is one state because we're too small. And we make a lot of noise, but we're too small.
Right. And so that would be one state for everyone living in the land of historic Palestine.
Granting equal rights and rotation of political power and, a very good system that is functional. Otherwise, we just drive ourselves nuts.
Thank you, Shireen. I really appreciate this time that you've given us today to show us the village, explain in detail the implications for the people here and for you personally and your family. I appreciate this interview, and thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Wow, we were just listening to Shireen from the village of Al-Lawahasha. That was a fabulous interview. We're going to take a break right now. And join us on the other side. We're going to have another interview. So we'll be right back. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Thanks. This is the Kathleen Wells Show. I'm Kathleen. Great, Donna. That was Miss Al-Araj. I mean, gosh, I'm actually captivated by what she was saying. Do you want to give us some input as to that interview?
Sure. I met Shireen Al-Araj back in 2005 during my first trip to Jerusalem in the West Bank. And when I first met her and I first visited the village, there were only plans to build the separation wall at that time. The village was fighting the building of the wall, but now I came back in 2012, and the wall is built, and it's complete except for one area where there's an opening. So the Israelis can bring their heavy equipment in to continue to build the expanded settlements that are being built behind the wall right next to the village. So there's been lots of changes since 2005. There's the entire village is enclosed now, and there's no access to the village except through checkpoints to get in and out. It's a devastating sight, and it's devastating to witness it and to see it and to talk to the people who are living there. There's one family within the village that the wall could not go around for some reason. So the Israelis are building them their own personal special wall to surround their home and their property. Shireen is a tireless advocate for her village, for the Palestinian people, and I was so pleased that she had the time to do this interview.
And I was absolutely delighted to hear her voice, and I think my listeners will be delighted to hear Miss Al-Araj voice, to hear a Palestinian voice, to hear about her experience. So now we're going to go and listen to the second interview you conducted on October 31st. That interview you conducted in Hebron, which is located south of the West Bank, and it's the largest city in Palestine. Is that correct, Donna?
That's correct, Kathleen.
Okay, and so this interview is with Mr. Amral, Murad Amral. Am I pronouncing his name correctly?
Yeah, Murad Amral, yes.
Okay, so let's take a listen. This is the second interview with Mr. Murad Amral, and it's from Hebron, which is the largest city in Palestine, south of the West Bank. So here's Mr. Amral. Here we go.
This is Donna Nasser coming to you from Hebron, more specifically the area referred to as H2. I am here with Murad Amral. Murad, can you help our listeners understand Hebron and the situation here? We'll start out maybe with explaining what H2 and H1 is.
Well, okay. Hebron is a city of Palestine. It's in the south of West Bank. It's the biggest city of Palestine. In 1994, they divide the city for H1 and H2. H1 is under the PA control, Palestinian Authority control, which is the Palestinian police work in H1, and in H2 is Israel, or it's under the Israeli occupation control. It's not under the Israeli it's not under the Israeli control. It's under the Israeli occupation control.
Okay.
Because there is a different.
Okay.
And in the agreement, or in that's mean the Israeli army or the Israeli police can't go to H1, and the Palestinian police can't come to H2.
Okay.
But now the Israeli police, they go to H1, and the Israeli army go there, they arresting people, and they do what they want, and they evacuated the city from the Palestinian police. Yes.
Now, I was in H1 earlier today, and there's a vibrant downtown area. There's lots of shops. When you enter H2, it is apparent that things are different here.
Yeah.
How are they different?
H2, we call it like a ghost town. It's closed because it's closed completely, because there is many closures. There is settlements, and all the shops closed because it's closed by military orders, Israeli military orders, to evacuate it or to divide the city for two parts. It's Israeli goals, it's Israeli steps to divide the city and to make Hebron Palestine and Hebron Israel. Mm-hmm. H2, it's something, you can't imagine if you don't come here. H2, it's not part of the world. As you see, H1, many people, many cars and buildings, shops, everything. But in H2, as you see, it's dark. Just you can see the settlements are lighting, and really it's this area, it's not easy also to come here. Even the Palestinians, they are afraid to come here to H2.
Why?
Because in the checkpoints, the soldiers, they stop them, and the settlers attacking us and them because we are the same people. And there is no cars. We are not allowed to use the cars here. We are not allowed to do anything. We are not allowed to fix the houses. We are not allowed to do anything. Really, we face apartheid. Here we face apartheid, and it's not like the apartheid in the South Africa. It's more bad here. It's really more bad here, and it's killing us every day.
How is it worse than apartheid in South Africa? Do you know? Can you tell me specifically?
Well, here they fight the occupation. They attacks us and everything. It's not just to stop us in the checkpoint or come to our houses in the night. No, it's more than they make a difference. You are from the U.S. You can walk in Shahada Street. In H2, you can walk in H2 free, and nobody talk to you. But I'm the owner of this land. I can't walk everywhere. I can't do anything I want. I can't, buy from the shops in here or here. I can't walk in all the places. It's forbidden and it's allowed. Why? There is no difference. Mm-hmm. Like Shahada Street, I'm not allowed, and you are allowed.
So Shahada Street, for the listeners, Shahada Street was the main shopping area, there were cafes, there were businesses, and Shahada Street is very close to where the old city of Hebron is, which is where the original settlers came and where they still are. Yes. So Palestinians had businesses, but they no longer are permitted to have businesses on Shahada Street.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Shahada Street, it's the main street in Hebron. It's the street between the south of the city and the north of the city. They start to close it since they came here in 1967. In the beginning of 1980, they close some places here in Shahid Street, some gates, some entrances. Then they divide the street for two parts. Like Berlin Wall, they put a wall in the street. This part for the Muslims and this part for the settlers, and the army can use the both. The Israeli police can use the both.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference? There is no difference. Now it's in the beginning of Second Intifada, they close it completely. There is 1,800 shops closed. 1,800 shops closed. It's mean 1,800 families with lost their works,
Lost their income.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'd like to talk about the organization that you work with and that you volunteer for. Could you tell us about that organization?
Yes, I'm a member in Youth Against Settlements. We are non-violence activists and we are a human rights defender. We work here like a social work and we fight the occupation in non-violence way. We are not actually like organization. Because the organization, it's mean you have a fund, you have money support from everywhere, but we don't get any fund from anyone. Just we are a youth work together. We have energy and we have a vision. We are not slaves. We need the freedom for our lands, for our country. So we are working here as a social work, and we make everything social, and we make demonstrations, we make a protest against the occupation. We're observing the occupation and the settlers, we film them, and we're trying to tell the people about the reality of the occupation, the reality of the cancer, or the reality of the settlements here in Hebron and in all West Bank. We have another group in Ramallah. Also, they are Youth Against Settlements. They work there, and we work with all the organizations here in West Bank. We go to Jenin, we go to Bethlehem, to Ramallah, to Nablus, and we protest against the occupation.
So it's not just about protest, but also you indicated earlier that it's about teaching the young children.
Yes. As I told you, it's a social work. We teach. We teach our children, we teach the kids here how to use the non-violence way, the popular struggle, how to use the non-violence resistance, because we are completely against the violence resistance, so we are focused just in non-violence resistance, and we don't afraid from the occupation because it's under the international law, the non-violence resistance. So to keep our children and to make them open mind with all the world, we are trying to make them non-violence fighters, to fight occupation, to save the city. The non-violence resistance, it's not just to go to a demonstration or a protest. I need to know my roots, and it's coming my memories, my heritage. What is Palestine meaning for us? It's coming from the non-violence resistance. To know the history of your life, of your issue, what's happening, everything, and now to bring the people from H1, from West Bank to here. It's not easy because it's dangerous area and many people are afraid. So when we bring them here, they feel better, and they coming here. They trying to coming here every time, every day, to join us in this work. And we make like languages.
You teach the children languages.
Yes. We teach them languages. Many international come here as volunteers, and they help us, and we teach them the law, how to deal with the occupation. Because we are following the Israeli occupation law. Even if despite of they don't care in their law, but we follow it, to keep ourselves. And when we know how to deal with the soldiers, it means that we keep ourselves from them, not to push them, not to attack the soldiers. So they will be angry and they can't do anything against us, or like to arrest us or to kill us. So that's very good for us to keep our children and ourselves from them. Even if despite of they arrested us or arresting us many times, they arresting us. They tried to kill us, but because we follow this, this law, and we know their law exactly. We keep ourselves from them.
Okay. If, in closing, if there's anything that you could tell the American people, what would it be?
Like, I would like to tell the American people that they should, or at least, to read or to see the life here, the reality of the life here, how we are suffering, what's going on here. We are dying every day. The settlers, killing us every day. And there is a very, very important thing, that we are not against the Jewish because they are Jewish. We are against the settlers. We don't care if they are a Jewish, or if they are a Muslims, or if they are Christians. We are, against the occupation. The people who steal our lands, who steal our dignity, who killing us every day, who attacking us, So this is a very important thing to know. We are not a terrorist. We are so friendly people, and we love all the world, and we love all the people in the whole world. Even if Saudi Arabia came to occupy my land, I will fight them in a non-violent way, because it's my land, it's my dignity, it's my life, it's my future.
Thank you, Murad.
You're welcome, and welcome to Hebron.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was a fabulous interview. We're going to take a break right now. And join us on the other side. We're going to have another interview. So we'll be right back. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Thanks. This is the Kathleen Wells Show. I'm Kathleen. Give us some of your thoughts about that with your interview with Murad.
Thank you, Kathleen. Murad is a young man who just graduated from university, is unemployed because there is no employment here in the West Bank for him. And he spends his time doing tours, talking to international people coming to visit. And he is a volunteer with the Youth Against Settlement. While I was with him in H2, the section of Hebron where he lives, and where there are settlements all around. In fact, when we were at this small building where the Youth Against Settlements do their work, we were right next door to an Israeli settlement. There was a small wire fence between that house and where the settlements were, and there were Israeli soldiers ready to point their guns at us at any time if we happened to cross that little wire fence. It was very disheartening. It's very sad to see this. I am moved beyond belief when I go to these places, and Hebron is one of those places where people are being oppressed in terrible, terrible ways. And while the Israeli settlers are living free and happy and really not caring about their neighbors.
Well, yeah, I want to thank you, Donna, for taking the time to bring Mr. Murad Amral's interview to my listeners at KCAA. Without much more fanfare, let's get straight to the interview. So, a woman who lives in Bethlehem. She is a shopkeeper. She is the mother of 5 children. So, let's listen to that interview now.
Bethlehem, in front of Rachel's tomb, the shrine of Rachel's tomb, and it is the main road. It was the main road from Bethlehem to Jerusalem, and it was the busiest area before the wall and richest area. All the people used to pass from this road to enter to visit Bethlehem, the Holy Land where Jesus was born, and also the Orthodox Jewish people used to come from this, to pass from here to pray in the shrine of Rachel's tomb. And we had the big businesses in the 4 shops. We had, my husband had an auto repair shop and spare parts, organic food and home accessories, and we lost them all in 2002. When they changed this area to a military zone, nobody could enter here to this area, only the soldiers. Mm-hmm. And we stayed here like in a curfew for 40 days during the Nativity siege. Mm-hmm. It was not easy to survive in this corner. They put the tanks in front of my house, and we stayed under shooting and fighting for 40 days. All the bullets entered to our building.
And this was in 2002?
2002 in the second Intifada.
Right.
And because we lost all our sources of income, they cut the electricity, we lost everything here in this isolated corner. And in 2003, before Christmas, 2 weeks of Christmas, they put the wall. They built it in one day, cheerfully. Yeah. So when my children went to school, they turned back, they found this horrible wall with 9 meters high. It was not easy to accept this wall. They cried a lot, and I did all my best to convince them to ignore this wall and not to, just to give them hope for the future and forget this wall. It took from me, it was very hard on me to convince them. I have 5 children. The eldest one, she was only 15 years old. And the youngest one, he was only 3 years. So they grew up with the wall.
Right.
Yeah. And we stayed like this without income from 2003 till 5 years without any sources of income.
How did you survive?
We suffered a lot. There is no need to tell you. You can imagine a family with 5 children without any sources of income. We had debts, we took loans. So it was horrible days.
Yes.
God knows everything. So till I renovated my shop here 2 years ago. My friend from USA, she supported me to renovate my shop. She did my websites for me. Really, I appreciate her.
Yes.
She's very kind woman. And I worked hard on internet to make to do business online and to make awareness for my business. It's about the baptism garments for infants, blessed from the Nativity Church. The tunic is the same tunic what Jesus wore when he baptized, and blessed from the Nativity.
Now, how do your children get to school now that the wall is up? Since you said that the day that they built the wall, they went to school, and when they came back, the wall was there.
Yeah.
Did they go to the same school? How did they get there?
Yeah, they went to the same school.
Do they have to cross a checkpoint to get to school?
No, here inside Bethlehem, no.
Okay.
But before the wall, it was very difficult for, especially to our family.
Okay.
Because it was like a curfew here and military zone, so we have to take a permit from the soldiers to enter, to go out from our house. So it was very difficult for us to live here with the tanks, soldiers,
How long did that go on?
For 1 year.
1 year?
Till they put the wall.
Till they put the wall.
Yeah.
So before they put the wall, a year before they put the wall, this became a military zone.
Yeah,
I see.
it was a military zone.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about, are your children, your children are now, what ages are they now?
Now the eldest one, she's 22. She just finished her studies at Bethlehem University.
Okay.
Thanks God, she worked hard and she got deans. And the second one, she's studying pharmacy at Al-Quds University.
Al-Quds, yes.
Yeah. And the third one, she's studying art. And number 4, she's 16 years old. She's in grade 11. And the boy, he's the youngest one in grade 9.
What are your hopes for your children?
Of course, to get what all... they lost everything in their life. They didn't grow like other children in the world.
Can you talk about that a little bit? If it's not too hard, I see that it's difficult.
It's very difficult for me, but you can imagine my children always on TV or at home. They don't have anything to do in their life like the other children.
Yes. Your children who are going to university, what hopes do they have for gaining employment when they're finished?
She didn't get any employment till now. She's searching. And as well, the salaries are very low here.
But they want to stay here.
No. I want to be frankly with you. She don't want to stay here, but of course because her family, because all the family are here, so she has to stay here with the family.
Is there anything that you want me to tell Americans about how you feel or what they should be doing, especially those who are concerned?
Yeah, I want to tell them that I'm a civilian woman. I'm a mother for 5 children. So I want to live in peace in my country, especially in Bethlehem where Jesus was born.
Right.
And I want to give my children all what they want. Give them to see like the other people, like my daughter, number 4. Yeah. Always telling me, I want to play, to learn how to play on the
Violin?
violin.
Violin.
Really, I can't because I have to. It cost me a lot, of course.
You can't buy a violin; it's too expensive.
I can't buy a violin, and I can't register her in an academy or something like this because it needs money.
Right.
So
Right.
only I don't know how to pay for her tuition. How come I let her play on violin?
Right.
So
the little things that we take for granted are enormous things for you as a Palestinian living in Bethlehem, in your homeland.
yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to be able to tell Americans?
Just to do something for us and remove this wall as soon as possible. Yeah, because I feel myself like living in a tomb without roof.
In a tomb, yes.
Yeah.
Without a roof.
Without a roof. They buried us alive.
Thank you.
Yeah, we lost everything here. As you see, it's an isolated corner.
Thank you. Yes. I
You're
see.
welcome, dear.
Thank you so much.
You are most welcome.
Give us your thoughts about interviewing the woman in Bethlehem with 5 children.
Yes, thank you, Kathleen. I visited Bethlehem on one of the first nights that I was here in the Jerusalem West Bank area. And I was driven around, and we drove down a one-lane street that used to be a wide street. But unfortunately, the Israelis have decided to build their separation wall in the middle of that street to isolate the town of Bethlehem. And when we pulled down this one-lane street, we stopped at the end, and there were 2 shops, and this woman came outside to greet me and began to tell me her story. And once I heard that story, I felt it was important for our listeners to also hear it, and that is why I decided to do this interview. When you're standing in front of her shop, the wall is directly in front of you. It's almost like you can't breathe. Even though you're outside, the wall is so enormous, tall, and overwhelming that I can't even imagine living facing that very ugly structure on a daily basis. So I appreciated that this woman was willing to tell us her story, but she did ask that I don't identify her.
As I said, this show is called Voices from Palestine. We're listening to interviews from Palestinians. This is something rare for American audiences, for American listeners. Let me ask you, listeners, how frequently do you get an opportunity to listen to voices, to listen from Palestinians, to listen to the stories of Palestinians, to hear about their daily lives, to hear about their families, to even hear their voice? How often do American listeners get to hear that? So this is why this is a special show, and I'm so grateful to you, Donna, for sharing this with my listeners.
Well, I'm grateful to have this opportunity. For far too long, Kathleen, these voices have been silenced. In the United States, normally the media is not interested in hearing from people like Palestinians. And I am overwhelmed by the stories that I am hearing here, and I'm honored to share them on your show.
You know what? I was actually moved listening. I listened to the interviews before we did the show today, and I was actually moved by the interviews. And I think many American listeners will be moved also. So I want to thank you, Donna, for taking the time to actually conduct the interviews, and I want to thank you for actually taking the time to be my executive producer, because I couldn't ask for a better executive producer, someone who's actually in the Middle East right now talking to Palestinians. So this is a special show. It's called Voices from Palestine. We're listening to interviews from Palestinians, and I'm just delighted that Donna took the opportunity to share these interviews with me for my KCAA listeners. Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome, Kathleen. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the Kathleen Wells Show. My executive producer, Donna Nassour, who is now in the Middle East. She's in West Bank and in Jerusalem. And she's also going to do shows from Gaza. So soon we'll be getting interviews from Gaza. Thank you, Donna. We'll be back again soon. So that's it. Thank you, listeners. This is the Kathleen Wells Show, and don't miss us next week. Thanks. Bye.